I tend to find it incredibly dishonest, and the biggest reason is one that you pointed out. You're talking about the same God. You're talking about, and they'll profess all day long, it's the same one. You lose your creation story when you chuck out the Old Testament as well. And if you have the same God, please tell me what was wrong with him in the first go-round. Did he get better?
I'm also curious, I mean, if we absolutely have to stick with the Ten Commandments as being the sole source of morality, then, I mean, we have one list in Exodus 20, we have another one in Exodus 34, and only the first two are repeated in both sets, and only the second set is actually referred to by the Bible as the Ten Commandments. So can you tell me a yes or no question? Are you required to observe the Feast of the Unleavened Bread? And are you prohibited from boiling a baby goat in its own mother's milk?
Not only that, but I'd argue that the New Testament is not an improvement. Yeah, it's not right. It's got nice things in there, about turning the other cheek and trying to forgive people. It's got tons of bad advice. As a matter of fact, if you go over to the wiki at ironchariots.org, you can find my deconstruction of the entire Sermon on the Mount there. But the New Testament is where we get this incredibly offensive idea of eternal punishment for finite crimes. That doesn't exist in Judaism because it's not a prevalent theme in the Old Testament or the Jewish Bible.
And if I can go on about this one more time, I mean, a lot of Christians will have this problem where they say that you have to observe the Ten Commandments in order to determine whether or not you're going to get into heaven. But the criteria is not that. What was laid out by Jesus, according to the New Testament, was literally gullibility. You have to believe. A defiance of the very first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. I mean, in Isaiah, I think it's 45, 5, 6, and 7, God describes himself and says that there's not anyone beside him. And then Jesus says that I sit on the right hand of power. Right? God says in the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me. And then Jesus comes along and says the only way to get through God is through me. So he requires...
There's a reason why Jews rejected all of this.
So Jesus is requiring you to break the very first commandment, and then the criteria, the only criteria, because works are like filthy rags in some interpretations of this, the only criteria to get into heaven is to believe whatever the priests are selling you. And that's it. Works don't matter. Works don't count. Blind, unquestioning gullibility is the only thing that's going to get you into heaven, because it does not matter how wonderful you are. If you didn't believe that Jesus was your Savior, then Jesus himself is going to be running you through the winepress of sinners, as he describes in Revelations. It's Jesus is doing the punishing here. And he's punishing only those who don't believe him, only because they don't believe him. It does not matter what else you do. So all these people that tell me that, well, this is the moral high ground, no, it's not. It's not remotely.
Yeah, your idea of the transition between the Old Testament and the New Testament, yeah, your God got better about a few things. He's not running around telling everybody to kill the opposition.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, when these people say that the Bible admonishes homosexuality, for example, homosexuality is a sin, and is it not the same chapter that also says that you're forbidden to eat shellfish, that it's an equal crime? Well, how can people sit there in this moral high ground at Red Lobster and bash on the homosexuals? Sorry, it's a hypocrisy.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to try and get through some more calls now. We've got them queued up. We've got Ed.
No, we don't.
We don't have Ed. We had Ed in Austin, who had asked, have you heard about the recent discovery that the pyramids were built by paid laborers and not slaves? No, I hadn't heard that. He said, and not slaves, as the Bible claimed. Not only have I not heard that, it doesn't matter because the Bible doesn't mention pyramids at all. It does hold that the Israelites were enslaved in Egypt. It doesn't say that they built the pyramids. However, modern archaeological evidence has pretty much demonstrated that that's just not true. They never were slaves in
And even
Egypt.
if it was true that they were slaves in Egypt, I mean, we have the what was it, the ninth commandment, Timothy? I can't remember which one it was now. That thou shalt not steal, right? And then you've got Exodus, where it's telling the Jews to borrow from their neighbors money and goods and livestock, and we'll bring them back in 40 years.
Yeah. It's payment for those years that you didn't actually enslave us. But anyway, we've got, is it Darren or Darren?
Yes, hi.
How are you in Toronto?
Hi, yes. My mic is actually not very good, so I'm going to ask my question quick and then get out of here.
Okay.
It's a question for Aaron. I've noticed that over time, increasingly I find that the creationists like to, whenever evolution comes up, just kind of skip over the whole deal and say, cut right to the, well, where did life come from? And so what I thought would just be interesting, I was just wondering was, I was listening to something with Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that they'd narrowed it down to about 100,000 years where abiogenesis would have needed to occur, or where God snapped his fingers, whatever viewpoint you want to take. I was just wondering how, because we talk a lot about, and Aaron talks a lot about kind of gaps in the fossil record, quote unquote, how close have we gotten back to that? Like, I realize that it's very full up after a certain point, but how close after the theoretical abiogenesis event do we actually have records and fossils and direct evidence of life?
Okay, thanks.
I believe stromatolites are the oldest verifiable fossils that we have, and they are on the range of, I think, 3.5 billion years. When you're talking about microorganisms, it's very difficult to find fossils for these. You could have seas full of them, and they just don't fossilize except on very precise conditions. They're soft-bodied, they're microscopic, and it's just hard to determine.
Yeah, your paraphrased question that they sent to us, though, about the evidence for abiogenesis, that's kind of a separate issue. It's not that how close to the abiogenic event we have fossil evidence really doesn't have anything to do with whether or not we have evidence for that event, or however many events there may have been.
I think it whittles down to this. I mean, we all believe that life came from non-life at one point. We believe that it happened naturally. They believe that it happened magically. And what we have as circumstantial evidence of that is as we go down through the fossil record, things become more and more simplified and more generalized, until we get down to where we have a billion years or so in which there are only microbes anywhere on the planet. And the creationists, of course, would say that we had cows and kittens and bunnies all appear abruptly at the same time. And none of these appear until, the last couple million years at best.
We've got Rick in Austin. I love the fact that his name was Rick. The question, though, which he used to be able to rickroll us, was if there is no God, what happens to all the souls when they die? And of course, the quick and easy answer is what souls? But so thanks for that. Great song, by the way. Is it Sean or Swain in Leesville? Sean? They might have typoed it for me. How you doing?
I'm good.
You might want to turn off the stream, because if I'm hearing an echo, and if you're concentrating on that, we're going to have this delay thing going that we'll never resolve.
Okay.
You had a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is, between the Big Bang and God created Earth, I wonder if the whole thing happened at the same time, or what?
You talking about the biblical biblical description?
Okay. Let me rephrase my question, because I keep getting interrupted by the echo, and I'm really, really far away from everything. Okay. My question is, everyone keeps saying that the Big Bang has happened and that created Earth, and on the other end, I'm also hearing that God has created Earth and everything, and I was wondering if both of those happened at the same time and no one didn't realize it.
All right, well, if God created the universe and the method that he used was the Big Bang, how would you tell the difference?
Hello?
I'm here.
If God used evolution to create all the species, how would you know? How would you know if there was a God involved or not? Another way to address your question is to remind you that the Earth is dated somewhere around 4.3, 4.4 billion years old, I think it is. And the universe is right around 14 billion years old. So I mean, we have about a billion-year gap between what would be the Big Bang and the formation of the Earth and the solar system.
Okay.